I'm sitting alone in our apartment right now, and it is so quiet I can hear the refrigerator humming in the kitchen. Sarah moved out last week, taking most of her things while I was at work. The silence should feel peaceful, but instead it just reminds me of everything that fell apart. I keep replaying that moment at my birthday party when she stood up in front of 15 of our closest friends and yelled those words that changed everything. I thought that public humiliation was the worst part. I was wrong. What I discovered 3 days later made that moment look like nothing. Before I tell you how everything unraveled, I want to know where you are watching from. Drop your city in the comments below. If you have ever felt betrayed by someone you trusted completely, hit that like button. And subscribe, because this story gets much darker before it gets better. Now let me take you back to where it all started. Sarah and I had been married for 5 years when everything collapsed. We met at a tech company in Austin, Texas, where we both worked. I was a software engineer, and she was a marketing manager. We fell into an easy rhythm together. Shared coffee breaks turned into lunch dates, which turned into weekend trips exploring the hill country. When I proposed at Mount Bonnell during sunset, she said yes without hesitation. Or at least, that is what I thought at the time. Our life looked good from the outside. We had a nice 2-bedroom apartment in South Congress, 2 decent incomes, and plans to buy a house within the next year. Sarah was everything I thought I wanted. Smart, confident, beautiful, ambitious. She knew how to command a room, how to make people listen when she spoke. I always felt a little lucky that she chose me. I was the quiet, steady one. The guy who preferred staying in with takeout and a movie over hitting the bars downtown. The guy who remembered to pay the bills on time and kept the pantry stocked. I tried hard to make her happy. I cooked dinner most nights because I knew she hated it. I did the laundry, kept the apartment clean, planned little weekend getaways to Fredericksburg or San Antonio. I thought I was being a good husband. I thought that was what marriage looked like. 2 people supporting each other, building something together. Looking back, I realize I was doing all the building while she was already halfway out the door. About 6 months before my 30th birthday, Sarah started changing. At first, the signs were small enough that I convinced myself I was imagining things. She started coming home later from work, always with the same explanation. Big project, tight deadline, demanding client. Her phone became a fortress. She would flip it screen down the second she said it anywhere. The password changed without explanation. When I asked why, she said it was for work security. I believed her because I wanted to. She stopped talking to me about her day. Dinner became quiet, just the sound of forks scraping plates. When I tried to ask about her projects, she would give me one-word answers and then retreat to the bedroom saying she had emails to catch up on. I told myself she was stressed. Work was demanding, and I needed to be patient, understanding, supportive. So I tried harder. I gave her space when she seemed irritable. I ran her baths with expensive bath salts. I booked a spa weekend in Wimberley thinking maybe she just needed to relax. But when I told her about the spa reservation, she barely looked up from her phone. You do not have to try so hard, Eric. It is exhausting. Those words stung more than I wanted to admit. How could trying to take care of my wife be exhausting? But I pushed the feeling down, told myself I was being too sensitive. Maybe I was being too much. Maybe she needed me to back off. So I did. I stopped planning surprises. I stopped asking about her day. I gave her all the space she seemed to want. The distance between us grew until we were 2 strangers sharing an address. Then came my birthday. I did not want a big celebration, but our friend group had been asking about plans for weeks, so I agreed to host something small. Just 15 people, casual pizza and beer, nothing fancy. Sarah knew about it for 3 weeks. She helped me pick out the beer. The day of the party, she left for work that morning, saying she would be home by 5 to help set up. 5 came and went. 6 passed. 7. People started arriving, asking where she was. I texted her 4 times, called twice. Nothing. She finally showed up at 8:32 and a half hours late. The smell of wine hit me before she even made it through the door. Her makeup was smudged, her blouse wrinkled in a way that made my stomach turn. But I smiled, tried to play it off. Everyone was watching. I walked over and quietly asked if everything was okay. She pulled away from me like I had burned her eyes cold in a way I had never seen before. Fine, Eric. Everything is fine. The party continued, awkward but manageable. People sang happy birthday. I blew out 30 candles on a cake my friend brought. I made a short speech thanking everyone for coming. And I mentioned Sarah, my beautiful wife who makes everything worthwhile. The words felt hollow even as I said them, but I thought maybe saying them out loud would make them true again. Sarah stood up so fast, her chair scraped against the floor. The room went silent. Beautiful wife. Do you even know who I am, Eric? Her voice was loud, sharp, cutting through the music someone had turned down. I stood there frozen, holding a piece of cake on a paper plate. Everyone stared. She kept going, her words slicing through me. You think you are so perfect. Always trying. Always caring. Always there. But you know what I regret marrying you. I settled, Eric. I settled for you because I thought you were safe. The silence that followed was suffocating. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. Sarah grabbed her purse and walked out, slamming the door behind her. I stood there, cake still in my hand, feeling 15 pairs of eyes on me. Someone tried to laugh it off, saying she must have had too much wine. Someone else suggested we keep celebrating, but the party was over. People left within 20 minutes, offering uncomfortable hugs and useless reassurances. It will be okay, man. She did not mean it. Give her time. I cleaned up alone, threw away half-eaten pizza, dumped warm beer down the sink, stacked chairs, wiped down counters. The humiliation burned hotter than any anger I felt. She had said those words in front of our friends. People we would see again. People who would now look at me with pity. I did not sleep that night. I just sat on the couch replaying her words over and over. I settled for you. Sarah did not come home that night. Or the next. She sent a single text around midnight on the second day. Staying at Amanda's. Need space. Amanda was her college roommate, someone I had met maybe twice. I did not believe Sarah was actually there, but I did not have the energy to chase her down. I went through the motions of living, showered, went to work, sat through meetings, came home to an empty apartment. Everything felt hollow. On the third day, I decided to do laundry. Sarah had left a pile of clothes in the hamper before the party. As I sorted through the pile, I found her black blazer, the one she wore to client meetings. I checked the pockets before throwing it in the wash, something my mom had drilled into me years ago. Inside the inner pocket was a folded piece of paper, a receipt from the Driscoll Hotel, a fancy historic hotel downtown. The date was from 3 weeks earlier. A Friday and Saturday, 2 nights, suite room, charges for room service, champagne, late checkout. My hands started shaking. We had never stayed at the Driscoll together. I would remember. It was expensive, the kind of place you went for anniversaries or special occasions. But 3 weeks ago had not been our anniversary. It had not been anything. I checked my own calendar. That weekend, I had been at a work conference in Houston. Sarah had said she was staying home, catching up on Netflix and sleeping in. The receipt showed charges for 2 guests. I sat down on the bedroom floor, still holding the receipt, trying to make sense of it. Maybe it was a work thing. Maybe her company had booked her a room for a client. But why would she pay for it herself? The card number on the receipt was hers, not a corporate card. And the room service. Oyster steak for 2 $120 bottle of champagne. That was not a work dinner. I went to the living room and opened her laptop. She usually took her work laptop everywhere, but she had left her personal one on the coffee table when she stormed out after my birthday. It was still on battery, almost dead. I plugged it in and waited for it to boot up. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it. I knew this was crossing a line, invading her privacy. But she had humiliated me in front of everyone we knew, disappeared for 3 days, and now this receipt. I needed to know. Her email was still logged in. Personal account, not work. I clicked on the inbox and started scrolling. Most of it was normal. Shopping confirmations, newsletters, random subscriptions. Then I saw a name that appeared over and over. Brandon Wright. I clicked on the first email dated 5 months ago. It was professional, at first asking about a marketing collaboration between their companies. Polite, formal, boring. The emails continued getting friendlier. Discussing projects, then books, then restaurants. Then came an email from Brandon suggesting coffee to discuss the project in person. Sarah agreed. The next email thread was about lunch, then dinner, then another dinner. The tone changed, became warmer, more personal. Brandon shared details about his marriage troubles. Sarah responded with her own complaints about feeling unfulfilled, about missing excitement, about feeling trapped in routine. I kept scrolling, my stomach churning with every new message. One email from 2 months ago made me stop breathing. Last night was incredible. I cannot stop thinking about you. We should tell our spouses soon. This is not fair to anyone, especially not Eric. Though honestly, from what you have told me, he sounds boring. You deserve better. Sarah had replied the next morning. I know. I have felt trapped for months. Eric is a good guy, but there is no spark. I married him because he was stable, but I need more. I need you. There were dozens more. Plans to meet at hotels. Details about sneaking away during work hours. Photos. I clicked on one attachment and immediately wished I had not. It was Brandon. Mid-40s, graying at the temples, expensive suit, smiling in what looked like a hotel room. Another photo showed Sarah laughing, wearing a dress I had never seen before. They looked happy. Happier than she ever looked with me. I backed up the emails to 3 different places, cloud storage, a USB drive, and forwarded them to my own email. Then I checked her text messages, which were backed up through our shared family iCloud account. More of the same. Photos of dinners at restaurants I could not afford. A short video of Sarah laughing at something Brandon said. Her face lit up in a way I had not seen in years. Messages planning their next meeting, complaining about having to go home to their spouses, counting down days until they could see each other again. I sat there for hours, reading through everything, building a timeline. The affair had started 5 months ago, right around the time she began acting distant. Every late night at work had probably been spent with him. Every business trip she had taken had likely included him. The spa weekend I had tried to plan, she had turned it down, and then spent that weekend at the Driscoll with Brandon. The worst part was not even the cheating, as horrific as that was. It was reading how she talked about me. Boring, predictable, too nice, safe. She had married me, knowing she felt this way, or maybe she had convinced herself she could be happy with safe. Either way, I had spent 5 years loving someone who saw me as a consolation prize, someone she settled for. And now she had found what she really wanted, and I was just the obstacle in her way. I did not cry. I just felt numb, empty, like someone had scooped out my insides and left nothing but a shell. I saved everything, organized it into folders, made sure I had copies. Then I closed the laptop and sat in the dark, trying to figure out what to do next. I did not confront Sarah right away. I needed to think clearly, not emotionally. The next morning, I called a divorce lawyer. I found someone who specialized in cases involving infidelity. Her name was Patricia Reeves, and her office was in a building downtown. I laid out everything during our consultation. The emails, the text messages, the photos, the hotel receipts. She listened, took notes, and told me exactly what I needed to do. First, gather everything. Make copies of financial records, especially credit card statements showing charges I did not recognize. Document every piece of evidence meticulously. Second, do not let Sarah know I was preparing. The element of surprise would work in my favor. Third, understand that Texas is a no-fault divorce state, but evidence of adultery could impact property division and potentially spousal support. I spent the next 2 days following her instructions. I combed through our bank statements and found dozens of charges I had missed. Expensive dinners, hotel rooms, gifts, all on our joint credit card. She had not even bothered to hide it well. On the 5th day after my birthday, Sarah came home. It was late afternoon. She walked in, looking tired, her overnight bag slung over her shoulder. She set it down by the door and looked at me standing in the living room. I had been waiting. "We need to talk," I said. My voice was calm, steady. Sarah sighed. "Look about what I said at your birthday." I was drunk. I did not mean it that harshly. "So you meant it, just not that harshly?" I asked. She did not answer, just looked away. That told me everything. I walked to the kitchen table where I had laid out printed copies of selected emails and photos. I debated whether to show her, but I wanted her to know that I knew, that she could not lie her way out of this. "Sarah, I found these." I gestured to the papers. She walked over slowly, her face shifting from confusion to shock to something like panic as she realized what she was looking at. Her mouth opened, then closed. Finally, she found words, but they were not the ones I expected. "You went through my private emails. That is invasion of privacy." "Eric, how dare you?" Her voice rose indignant, like I was the one who had done something wrong. "And you have been sleeping with Brandon for months." I said, my voice still eerily calm. "That is called adultery, Sarah." She stared at me, caught. Then her expression changed again, softening, tears forming. "Eric, you do not understand. I have been unhappy. You are too nice, too predictable. I need passion. I need to feel alive. Brandon makes me feel things I have not felt in years. I tried to make this work, but I cannot keep pretending." "Then you should have divorced me first," I said. "Not made me look like a fool in front of everyone we know. Not spent our money on hotels and dinners with him. Not lied to me for 5 months while I kept trying to figure out what I did wrong." She started crying harder, switching tactics. "I am sorry. I was confused. We can work this out. Do not throw away 5 years, Eric. Please. We can go to counseling. I will end it with Brandon. Just give me another chance." I looked at her, this woman I had loved, who had just spent months betraying me and was now trying to manipulate me with tears. "You already threw it away," I said. "I have filed for divorce. You will receive the papers tomorrow at your office." She stopped crying instantly, her face going pale. "You cannot do this," she said, her voice sharp again. "I can," I replied, "and I will." She tried to argue, to plead, to threaten, but I just walked to the bedroom, grabbed a bag I had already packed with my essentials, and left. I stayed at a hotel that night. A cheap one, not the Driscoll. But I was not done. Over the next few days, I made a decision that some people might think was vindictive. I did not see it that way. I saw it as honesty. Sarah was already calling her friends, her family spinning a version of events where I was the bad guy. Cold, unfeeling, unwilling to work on the marriage. I had heard it through mutual friends. She was controlling the narrative, painting herself as the victim of a husband who gave up. I was not going to let that happen. I spent an evening writing an email. It was not angry or cruel. It was factual. I explained what had happened. The affair, the lies, the public humiliation at my birthday party. I attached evidence, though. I blurred out anything too explicit. Just enough to make it clear this was not me making things up. I sent it to her parents, her 2 siblings, her closest friends, and a few key colleagues who had been asking me what happened. Not her entire office, that would have been too far. just the people who knew about our marriage and had been hearing her side of the story. The response was immediate. Sarah's mother called me within an hour crying, apologizing for her daughter's actions. She said she was ashamed and heartbroken that they had raised her better than this. Sarah's father sent a brief email. "I am sorry for what my daughter did to you. You did not deserve this. You have my support." Several friends reached out expressing shock and support. They had believed Sarah's version until they saw the proof. One friend admitted Sarah had told her I was controlling and emotionally distant. The emails proved otherwise. Sarah called me that night. She was screaming, "You destroyed my life. How could you tell everyone? How could you send those emails? You're ruining me." I listened to her yell for a full minute before responding, "You destroyed our marriage, Sarah. I just made sure people knew the truth. You wanted to make me the villain. I was not going to let you." She hung up. She tried calling back several times, but I blocked her number. The divorce proceeded quickly after that. With the evidence, I had her lawyer advised her not to fight. We split assets, she moved out completely, and within 3 months, it was finalized. The first month after the divorce was brutal. I felt like I was walking through fog, going through motions, but not really present. Work became my escape. I threw myself into projects, stayed late, volunteered for extra assignments. My boss noticed and appreciated it, but I knew I was just avoiding going home to an empty apartment. I sold the place Sarah and I had shared. Too many memories. I found a smaller one-bedroom spot in East Austin, closer to downtown. It was quieter, simpler. I could afford it easily on my own. I started running. Every morning before work, I would wake up at 6 and run 5 miles along the trail near Lady Bird Lake. The physical exhaustion helped quiet my mind. I joined a running club and met people who knew nothing about my divorce, my ex-wife, or the mess I had left behind. To them, I was just Eric, the software engineer, who showed up every Saturday morning ready to log miles. It felt good to be around people who did not look at me with pity. My therapist, a woman named Dr. Linda Morrison, helped me work through the anger and hurt. I had resisted therapy at first, thinking I could handle it on my own. But after a particularly bad week, where I barely slept and could not focus on anything, I finally made an appointment. She helped me see that Sarah's betrayal was not a reflection of my worth, that being stable and kind were not flaws, that I had not failed as a husband just because my wife chose to have an affair. It took months of sessions before I started believing her. I also learned to be alone without being lonely. I had always been the kind of person who defined myself through relationships. Son friend, boyfriend, husband. I did not know who I was when I was just Eric, so I spent time figuring it out. I took a pottery class on Thursday nights. Terrible at it, but I enjoyed the meditative process of working with clay. I started reading again, something I had stopped doing years ago. I discovered I liked cooking for myself, experimenting with recipes, not just reheating leftovers. Slowly, I started feeling less like half of something and more like a whole person. About 6 months after the divorce, I heard through a mutual acquaintance that Sarah and Brandon had broken up. Apparently, once the affair became real, once they were not sneaking around anymore, the excitement faded. Brandon never left his wife, just like I suspected he would not. Sarah was left alone, having burned bridges with friends and family, her reputation damaged. Part of me expected to feel satisfaction hearing that, but I just felt sad for her. Not sad enough to reach out, not sad enough to forgive her. Just sad that she had destroyed so much for something that was never going to last. She tried to contact me a few times in those months. Emails that I deleted without reading. A letter that arrived at my new address, forwarded from the old one. I threw it away unopened. There was nothing she could say that would change anything. I did not hate her. Hate requires energy, and I did not want to give her any more of mine. I just wanted to move forward. By the time a year had passed since my birthday, since that night everything fell apart. I felt different. Lighter. There was still sadness, sometimes flashes of anger, when I thought about the wasted years, but mostly, I felt free. Free from trying to be enough for someone who would never see me that way. Free from walking on eggshells, wondering what I did wrong. Free from pretending everything was fine when it was not. I learned that being kind does not make you boring. Being stable does not make you less. The right person will see your worth. I learned that keeping secrets for people who hurt you only protects them, not you. The truth is painful, but silence is worse. I learned to stand up for myself, to not accept being treated as less than I deserve. I am not perfect, but I am not a consolation prize either. And I will never again settle for someone who settled for me. If someone tells you they settled for you, believe them. Then walk away. Because you deserve someone who chooses you every single day, not someone who tolerates you until something better comes along. I thought exposing Sarah would give me closure. It did in a way, but the real freedom came when I realized I did not need her validation to know my worth. I already had it all along. I just had to remember, I am doing okay now. Better than okay, actually. I got promoted at work. I ran a half marathon last month. I have good friends who check in on me. My apartment feels like home. I am even thinking about dating again, though. I am taking it slow. There is no rush. I spent so long trying to make someone else happy that I forgot to make sure I was happy too. I am not making that mistake again. So what have I learned from all this? That betrayal shows you who people really are. That humiliation can be a catalyst for growth. That the worst moments of your life can lead to the best versions of yourself if you let them. And that sometimes the person you lose in a breakup is not the one you will miss. It is the person you thought they were. And once you grieve that illusion, you can finally move on. Have you ever had someone make you feel like you were not enough only to realize later that you were always more than enough and they were just too blind to see it? Drop your answer in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, hit that like button. Subscribe for more real stories about navigating life's hardest moments. And share this video with someone who needs to hear that their worth is not determined by people who could not see it. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope it helps someone out there who is going through something similar. You are not alone. You are not boring. You are not too much or not enough. You are exactly who you need to be. And the right people will see that. Take care of yourselves. And remember, you deserve to be chosen, not settled for.